Hey, Crispy Brown here, Med Preservation Inc., coming to you live from a Hampton Inn in the middle of nowhere. Got these lovely curtains behind me again. I got a couple, 2, 3 more months out here, so you'll probably see them again before it's all said and done. Took a little bit of time off. Recently had a very successful go live, and then the holidays after that, so was pretty busy and just didn't have time to vlog. Trying to get back into it though, so tonight I want to talk about resources and specifically pharmacy resources. I've been getting a lot of calls lately about projects that are behind, and they're trying to, just throw a bunch of resources at it to get it caught up, whether it be, go live or maybe you're getting ready to do testing and the build is behind, and so they're looking for bodies to kind of try to help that out. And so if you look at these ready implementations that MEDITECH's doing for Expanse or whatever, they have a staffing guide. And so often, I'm not saying the staffing guide's wrong, but I think a lot of factors kind of play into a project like this. One is, the project's so long, and maybe the resource that you're using, which is usually a staff pharmacist who has other responsibilities, or maybe a director, maybe they just can't see the end of the project and they don't know how much work it's going to take to actually get this project completed. So that's definitely one thing I see. So if the staffing guide has, maybe 30 or 50 hours, whatever it is, dedicated to your type of implementation, that's really dedicated hours that you would want to be just nonstop working on the project. There's planning meetings and build design meetings and workflow meetings. So a lot of meetings go into this up front before you can even really start building. And then once you start building, there's the drug build. You have charging and billing numbers and strings and med strings, IV strings, order sets. All those are important pieces of the build that people might know about. But you also have probably pharmacist documentation, BMV medication scanning, immunizations. Like, don't underestimate that immunization build, especially if you have clinics involved. And also with the bidirectional interface coming here real soon, you want to build that immunization piece out correctly so that you're able to send and receive that information to other hospitals or healthcare providers. And then training is also another big piece that I see, towards the end of the project, that you have to dedicate some resources and time to. So, another mistake I see is people coming from client server to Expanse. Take it for granted. It is the same pharmacy module, but there's lots of different integration pieces that you might not think about. You can get respiratory involved is one that comes to mind. Surgery, that's a big piece. Like, if you're planning on bringing surgery up electronic and they've never been electronic before, then there's definitely some workflow issues and some build issues. There. That you're going to have to talk about and kind of work through. And so I'm not sure if MEDITECH's guide even really recommends a pharmacist for that piece, but pharmacist is essential to that piece, especially if you're doing like hold queue orders, which is new functionality in Expanse, which I really like. So, all pieces to think about. So if your hospital has purchased the oncology module, that is another big piece of the build, and rather cumbersome to set up, I would say. I mentioned order sets earlier, but you really want a part-time pharmacist dedicated to just building nothing but order sets if you plan to. A lot of sites I see are going up with 1 to 200 order sets electronic. So that takes time to build. And before you can even start building those order sets, those strings have to be there, which means the drug has to be built out, and the order strings themselves has to be built out before you can pull them into the order sets. Now, there is some mapping tools that MEDITECH has. Some pieces of that work better than others, but ultimately what I find is that, it's a manual process and people are having to go in and clean up those sets and pull in those strings. So don't take that order set build for granted, because it'll get you. Then if you have an ambulatory module, that is also a big build. I don't think MEDITECH recommends much of a pharmacist to help there, but office injections, depending on how many offices you have and how many office injections you want to build out, then that can be a very substantial piece of the build. The billing units and billing numbers all play a role in that, and depending on how you set it up, can be a little bit painful or a little bit cumbersome. So keep that in mind. And then, long-term care facilities, if you have, one or two of those or whatever in the bill too, that just complicates things even more. So really need to step back and look at how many pieces touch pharmacy to kind of determine what resources you need. And then you really want to bring somebody in there with the experience that has been doing MEDITECH for a while and knows how to kind of set this stuff up. Um, and even if you're going from client server to expanse, that's your opportunity to clean that stuff up. Don't, they say crap in, crap out. Like, don't just put the same old stuff that you have in client server into expanse. That's your time to really clean it up, and all that stuff that you wish it was a different way in client server. This is your time, so take that time, clean that information up, put it in correctly in expanse. And do it the right way. So a lot of times it helps to bring in expertise to do that. So we've been doing a lot of these lately. We've got some mapping down depending on the situation. We can do some scripting. So if you're in a bind and you need some help, give Med Preservation a call. Let's see what we can do for you. And also, even if you're live already and it just didn't go as well as you'd like, and you want some optimization work done, we've been doing some of that as well. So keep us in mind. Give us a call. With that, I will sign off. I hope everybody's doing well out there, and I want to remind you to be kind, be careful, and always choose joys.